Okay. Just want to make sure that is okay. All right, just give one more moment here to get started. Hello, hi everyone. I'm so excited for you to be here. We are all talking about invincible goals. Let me know you can see my shared screen. I know sometimes the technology is a little iffy. So I hope you can see my shared screen because what you should be seeing is different from what I'm seeing. So I can't always tell what you guys are seeing. We will be talking about goals today, so it would be very helpful if you have something that you are working towards in your mind, because knowledge is so vitally important, but it is nothing without the action. So I'm going to be going through why you've achieved goals or why you might not have achieved goals in the past. We're going to go through a step-by-step process for creating goals within your life that are invincible, in that they are really guaranteed for you to happen if you do the step-by-step process. So I'm glad everybody can see it. All right, we are good. I'm going to, oh, I met one more person here, and then we will get started. Okay. So most of you probably already know me, but I will introduce again myself. My name is Jana. I am a life coach and my background is nursing. So I have a bachelor's in nursing sciences and work as a registered nurse as well as a life coach. So my whole thing is, a lot of times people have all of these kind of wishes, these goals that they kind of come up with. And a lot of the times they all seem nice in theory, but they aren't actually being accomplished in reality. And this is something in my coaching job that I help people create goals. And I noticed that a lot of my clients were pretty much always achieving these goals. And this is something that I have worked on for myself. And looking back through my different, like I keep thought model books, so I can look back and say, like, a year ago, what was I working on? What was I practicing believing? And the amazing thing is, going back and looking at these things, pretty much everything has come true or is in the process of occurring for me. So what was different for me and my clients and other people in the life coaching profession? What did we have that we were working with to be able to achieve goals consistently? And I took all of that. I looked at other people, what were people doing, and seeing how this could come to be. And the interesting thing is that there's so many people who call themselves experts. I mean, I've heard of all these people who are like financial experts, and when they write all these books about like budgeting and all this stuff, but then when somebody, like, they were interviewed and they actually went to them and said, do you actually use your budget that you tell other people to use? And most of them were saying no. So I'm like, okay, well, like, why the heck are you teaching something that's not even useful and you don't even use it yourself? So and they're like, well, somebody needs this. I'm like, but if you don't use it for you, then why would somebody else find it of value? So I really have been using these master classes to teach you guys things that have been of incredible value for me in my life and with my clients. And then I'm taking that and trying to bring it down into something simple and applicable to you guys. So to start with, really, what is a goal? Everybody kind of has an idea. Like, you can drop in the chat, what do you think of when you say a goal? So I'm just curious. We've all had goals. We've all created goals. I remember in school them always talking about having to create these SMART goals, the specific, measurable, actionable. I don't even remember what the RT are. So I remember always talking about how, like, creating goals. So I'm curious what you guys believe goal creation is. Because I think, sorry, I have like the chat on my phone. So just to see if people pop in there, because I can't see it with my presenter view on the computer. So when I think of goals, the way I think of goals now is basically a navigation point. So this is where you are directing your intentions, your actions, your thinking all towards this navigation point. So I have a little airplane picture here, because the amazing thing is when you look at, so airplanes navigation, so airplanes work on like radio, like frequencies, so where they want to go. So when an airplane has a destination, they put in their destination, and a lot of the times they'll have to course correct. They're going to have to keep correcting to, in case, you know, like if there's a storm, there's lots of winds, they're going to have to keep course correcting to get to their destination. So if that airplane was flying from like New York to Boston, which is not a very far flight, that like airplane, if it got, you know, off 1 degree, it's going to maybe end up like a state over, but it's not going to end up that far off from its set point. But if that airplane's destination was New York to Beijing and it was 1 degree off, that airplane is going to end up halfway around the world. It's going to be completely off of its course. And the same kind of thing happens, I believe, for our goals. We create goals, but if their set point of that goal is not aligned with where we are, like if our goal is not aligned with our set point, if our trajectory is off, we don't achieve those goals. So I like to think of goals as this navigation, the set point that we are trying to achieve. And then your actions, your thinking and feeling and actions that are either aligned with that or not aligned with that. And I'm going to go further into this. So I have Jennifer, who said a goal is a task that needs to be done or accomplished, a personal desire to be accomplished. Okay, and then Mabel says a goal is something that you want or need to achieve. So it's kind of the same in that it's like a task or a personal desire, something you want to achieve and accomplish. So yes, so it's basically the same. So we're making it that's the point, the thing that you want, that desire is the thing that you want. But the thing that I find most people, when they talk about these goals, they talk about it like it's like a dream, a wish, like a mystical kind of thing that is, it would like, it's kind of like it would be nice, but it's not talked about like, obviously I'm going to accomplish this. And I think that is a major issue that we have, is that we're talking about our desires like they aren't something that's going to happen for us. And then like, that's generally how our brain goes about treating them. And then it doesn't happen for us. Yeah, I like phase. So the goal is the overall guide. So that is basically, yeah, for sure. So why might you not achieve goals? So how many of you have made a goal before? Definitely made a goal before. How many of you have achieved a goal before? Probably most of us have achieved a goal. How many of you have not achieved a goal before? Definitely me too. So why do you think you have not or have achieved your goals before? I kind of already touched on this, but do any of you have any insights on why or why not it might have happened for you? Okay, so you have 2 goals and you haven't achieved your goal. So is this a longer term goal that you've had for a while, or is this more recent? And you say you don't have focus. So that's definitely a contributing factor, and what we focus on is what we create. And I think this is going to help, because I'm going to go further in depth on the important things to focus on to create that for yourself. So why might you not achieved it? So the amazing thing about our brains is they always love to be right. Does anybody else love to win an argument? Well, your brain likes to always be right, even when it's against itself. But the part of your brain that's always trying to be right is your subconscious or your primitive lower brain. So your lower subconscious brain is the part of your brain that was programmed generally for most people between the age of like 0 and 7. This is like where you learned right and wrong. This is where you learned what was important. All of these programmings happened generally in childhood. That does not mean that you can't reprogram it. It just means for most adults, we have all of our base programming, all of our base beliefs in that time period. And we continue to work on these thought models based on that for the rest of our lives. So most of our money beliefs, most of our beliefs about the size, our weight, our health, our everything is based on all of these models that we have in our brain. So our brains are designed for efficiency, which means they are going to always try to go back to their autopilot programming as much as possible. And they like to be right. So when you decide you want to change something about yourself or change your goals, whether it may be you want to lose 5 pounds, whether it may be you want to earn $100,000, whether it may be you want to try working out 3 times a week, whatever your goal is, it doesn't matter what your goal is, your brain is going to use this programming to determine whether or not it's going to work for you or against you. And that's why it's important to know this so that you can actually reprogram your brain if that goal is not aligned with your subconscious beliefs about yourself and your self-image. So why don't you achieve a goal? Your belief set point, so that point where the airplane is trying to go, is not the same as the goal. So I'm going to keep using this little like line structure here. So I have the goal, which is like the bullseye with the arrow. And then we have you, the little person. So the orange is so I'm going to see each of these lines are kind of like set points of beliefs that you could have. There is infinite number of set points that we can have in the world. Just like there's an infinite amount of frequencies, there's an infinite amount of phone numbers in the world. When we pick up the phone, we can call a particular number and connect with somebody in Africa, and that is their particular frequency going through that number. That's how physics works in the world. And that's the same with this. You have all of these frequencies that everything works on, and you are at your particular set point because your brain was programmed that way. So when you go about your autopilot life for particular beliefs, particular goals you are cruising along at your set point. So I have the little orange arrow, which is cruising along at its set point of that frequency for that thing. So right now you say, I'm 5 pounds heavier than I want to be. I'm just going to keep using this 5 pound one. I'm going to stick with that goal, whatever it may be, it still applies. So you're going to say, I'm 5 pounds heavier than I like to be. Your brain believes that is your set point. Your brain believes in the thoughts that you tell yourself that your thighs are too big or you don't fit in your pants. Your brain believes these beliefs because you've reinforced them over and over and over again. But then you decide you want to do something different. I'm going to create this goal to lose 5 pounds. So now this is the green arrow. This is the green arrow. You've changed your set point because you're changing your behavior. But what happens is you're changing your behavior, you're forcing it, you've picked up a diet, you're following it really vigorously, you're doing all these things, you're doing all these actions to lose that 5 pounds. And maybe you do lose that 5 pounds. Maybe that happens, but then you stop trying so hard. You stop doing the diet. You like ease back in, and your brain is like, oh, okay, let's redirect to our set point. And you're going to find yourself right back in that same old place, gained 5 pounds. And sometimes you've gained even more weight. That happens for a lot of people. They lose the 5 pounds because they push themselves, they do the diet, and then they actually gain back 7 pounds or 10 pounds because their brain goes back to that set point and says, well, I don't like my thighs. My pants don't fit. You told me my pants don't fit and I don't like my thighs. So I'm just going to go back to that set point because you kept reinforcing that for so many years that your brain has created that as your set point. So how do we actually achieve goals when we have these set points? You actually have to understand and have an awareness of what your brain's self-image and self-beliefs are. So this is the next slide. So basically you have this lovely dream, and then your brain is going to, you're like, okay, I'm going to lose 5 pounds. And then your brain goes into your subconscious beliefs and says, okay, so I talk about myself like I don't fit in my jeans. I don't like my thighs. I always eat too much. Like, these are all the beliefs that you're telling your brain. You can fill in the blank with whatever. And this is not about being judgmental. It is about being aware of what you are doing. How are you speaking to yourself? Are you speaking to yourself in a way that you want to speak to somebody else? Because your brain always wants to be right. You are always going to be proving yourself right. So when you speak about yourself in a way that's not aligned with the results you want to create, you are literally creating the results the way of the things you keep speaking about. So what your brain does is it takes this new goal that you have, whatever, imagine your goal in your head, and then it goes into the subconscious belief category and says, does this align with my self-image? Does this align with the beliefs that I have about myself? Yes, it does. Oh, okay, great. We're going to go about trying to come up with ways that we can accomplish that. And then you create that goal, which is why a lot of people have achieved goals. A lot of people achieve lots of little goals all the time without any issue because they are aligned. Your brain's like, well, I have no like there's nothing bad about, like, I'm totally okay with this one. But then you come up with a goal that completely contradicts everything you've been saying about yourself. Well, you just said you wanted to lose 5 pounds, but you talk about yourself all the time in this horrible negative way. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to lose the 5 pounds because you keep talking about yourself like you're overweight. I thought you liked that. Like, that's kind of what our brain does. And this is, do not beat yourself up for this, because it is the way that our brains are programmed. This is part of the human condition to do this, to have this behavior. This serves you so well in so many areas, and it doesn't serve us well in a lot of areas. So the awareness is the number one. And that's what I really want you to get out of this, is to be aware, because once you start becoming aware of how you are speaking about yourself and how you are talking to yourself, you can start the process of changing the language you use around yourself, changing these beliefs. This is something you can absolutely do on your own. But if you want to accelerate this progress, this is really when working with a coach is so vital, because they help you see what you are doing unconsciously and help you rewrite this brain programming so you can create these new neural connections so that your subconscious brain has the self-belief and the self-image that is aligned with the goals, with the results that you want in your life. So how do you achieve sustainable goals? So we don't just lose the 5 pounds and then go back and gain 10, so how do we get this? How do we change our set points to get to the goal that we want in our lives? So the number one thing that most people have is a lot of confusion and a lot of overwhelm. That is all part of the human condition. Our brains get super overwhelmed easily, and especially if the goal is like way out of our comfort zone, our brain is going to make us confused, because our brains fear and doubt the unknown because they've never experienced the unknown, so they don't know how to protect us. So one of the basic protective mechanisms of our brain, which is super annoying but totally happens all the time, is they give us all of these like surface level problems and like surface level confusions. Like, if your goal is to create your website, you're going to spend like 3 hours literally moving that one photo like in circles all around for like 3 hours, and you're like, it just doesn't look right. And you just keep shifting it because your brain is so confused and overwhelmed and doesn't believe it's possible for you to create that website because maybe you've never created one before. So it's going to get you stuck and confused in these little minute tasks to actually try to like sabotage you from accomplishing that thing because it's not aligned with your set point. So being aware of this, I'm going to talk about ways that we can prevent that little like exercise from happening, because so that you can be more productive with your time when you're aware of this from occurring. So we need to be really, really clear on your set point. What is it? Specifics. I want like detailed specifics. What is your goal? I want to lose 5 pounds, or maybe it's 4 pounds. I want to lose 4 pounds by this date. Why is that important? Is the next thing. Your brain is not going to try to do something that's difficult. Your brain is programmed for efficiency. It's programmed to go on autopilot. And now you're like, you want me to do extra work? So you need a really strong reason. Why is this important? Take a moment to actually visualize and write down, why is your goal important? If you're willing to share it in the chat. What is your goal? Clearly define it. And why is it important to you? What is important about that? Take a moment, even right now, and just think about this goal. How is it going to be better for you when you've accomplished it? How is your life going to be better when this is done? What about this is necessary for you? What's clear for you about achieving this goal? Why is this important? How much better will your life be? How much easier are things going to be? What's different about this? Really get clear on what your goal is and why it's important. And the thing is that when we are thinking thoughts, our brain will think a thought and it sends a signal to our body. And every single thought we think will send a signal down to our nervous system, and we are going to have a sensation or a feeling in our body. And when we have a sensation, it goes back up to our brains, and our brain interprets that as an emotion or a feeling. So when you can get emotional and have a feeling about it, like a really good feeling, maybe you're really excited, maybe you feel really proud, you feel really accomplished, the more strongly you can feel about this goal, the more likely you are to overcome any obstacles that are coming your way to achieve it. The more emotional we can get about our goals, the better it is, because our brains work in a think, feel, act cycle. So when we think a thought, if we can get a strong emotion to go with it, the likelihood that we're going to take action towards our goals is so much stronger. So when we take the time to actually think a thought, feel the feeling, we are more likely to take action, and that's more likely to create the result that we want. So if we just, like daydream, we're not really getting into it. I really want you to get into it. There we go. Okay. So, moving on here. Number 3, I really love that. Like, I want you to create a new model. There's so many of us, and myself included, who get so stuck in the trying to fix what already is. What if you just let go of trying to fix your current situation and instead just create a whole new model? Don't fix what already isn't working. Maybe you don't like your current life. You don't like your current situation. That's totally okay. Your current situation has created a, oh my goodness, I'm trying to total mind blank on the word. It's created a discrepancy, almost like it's showing you the two possibilities. When you encounter something you don't like, it gives you so much more clear definition of what you do want. So instead of trying to change what you don't want, your current situation, we go about actually working on creating more or creating a new model of what you do want. So don't change what is. We're creating a new model, a new process to create what you do want. So you are clear. Number one was get clear on what your set point is. Number two, figure out why it's important and get emotional about it. Number three is create that new model. So we are moving on as if right now is a fresh standpoint. You're going to look at your past experiences as important to see what you do and what you do not want. And then we are not going to change what isn't working and what we don't want. We are going to start fresh and create something that we do want from this future point. So how do we start talking about it? How do we start going about creating and actually implementing these goals? We talk about it and think about it from having done energy. So just like I just talked about in why is this important? Really take that time to visualize it, think about it as if it's already done. So take a moment and go to that future point. Imagine it's already occurred. Imagine your goal is already done. You just accomplished whatever your goal is. It's here, it's now, it's finished. How would you talk about it? What did you need to know to accomplish this? What is so great about this moment? What would you go back and tell yourself if it's already done? How would you encourage yourself along your way? Because a lot of the times, what you can actually do is you can take these thoughts you're coming up with right now in this moment and talk about these events now from this place of having done energy. Sorry, it's going to be another person there. So when you talk about it as if it's already done, your brain starts to believe it's already done. So how does exactly like reverse engineering? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So how does your brain do this? So the amazing thing is they've done a number of studies. They did a huge study of this on Olympic athletes in the 90s, where they actually had Olympic athletes perform their events in their brains. So they connected these athletes. They had like all the electrodes on their brains. They had electrodes all over their bodies, and they measured them while they were just imagining performing their Olympic event. And the mind-blowing thing is all of these athletes fired the exact same neural connections, their muscles, fibers in their arms, their legs, everything fired exactly the same as it would have if they were actually performing their sport. So our brains cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. So the more and more you practice believing it's already done, the more that you celebrate it as if it's already occurred, the more that you talk about it in the sense that I am already 5 pounds lighter, I am already $100,000 earner, I am this person, the more that you talk about it in that way, the more your brain is like, dang, yeah, you are. And it starts to create that for you. It's almost like impossible for your brain not to, because just like those Olympic athletes that practiced it just in their mind, your brain is starting to practice being that person who has created that result in your brain. You're honestly just doing this practice alone is going to start to shift you into that person who creates the results that you want to. It is mind-blowing. Like, honestly, and you won't even realize it's happening until like somebody will point it out to you and you're like, oh my goodness. As I said at the beginning of this, like I literally have a thought book of intentional and unintentional models, and looking at the models that I did a year ago, most of those things have all come true because I was using these principles. I was talking about it as if it was already done. Just like those Olympic athletes, I was practicing being the person who accomplishes it in that moment. Yes, I totally agree with you, Faye. Okay, so how do you achieve sustainable goals? Continued. Number 5. Most of us are not going to be that green arrow that's perfectly straight. Most of us are going to be on this like rickety up and down roller coaster to heading towards our goals because we're human. This is totally normal. We are going to encounter obstacles. We are going to have setbacks. We are going to have a human brain who comes up with all of these excuses to self-sabotage us because your brain is like, whoa, man, you're getting way, 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 way off from this program set point that we are so used to. So it is completely normal. But doing this work, especially having a coach, allows you to be aware of your brain when it goes off track. So when you start to see your brain getting distracted, you start to see your brain, like that airplane that's just getting off of its trajectory and it's going to land like way off, you can course correct and be like, oh my goodness, brain, you're not doing what we said we were going to do. Let's get back on track. So you can start re-believing those beliefs. You can start practicing again what it takes to believe in those beliefs. So daily activities to reinforce new beliefs. So what does it take to be the person who has achieved your goal? This is really where you get clear. So you've daydreamed, you've gotten clear on it, why it's important to you. What do you need to believe to be that person who has already achieved your goals? What does that person do? This is where, if your goal is income, $100,000, what are income producing activities for your business? Or if you work for somebody else, what does the person who has gotten that promotion to earn that extra money done? What do they do every day? This is like, what does that version of me do? Maybe if your goal is to lose 5 pounds, I need to exercise 3 times a week. Or maybe I need to add some more vegetables to my life. Or maybe I need to only have dessert twice a week instead of every day. What do you need to do to be the person who is aligned with your new belief? This is all about conditioning your subconscious beliefs. This is conditioning your subconscious brain from all that programming from when you were a kid. It's going to keep like being like, okay, but you are really, really far off from what you were supposed to be doing. This is when you keep having to reinforce it. Okay, but no, I'm becoming this new version of me. I'm changing my set point. So I'm thinking and feeling and acting in a certain way. And the stronger that you get in the thinking and the stronger your emotions are, the easier for your brain to actually change your subconscious beliefs, because our hippocampus is the part of our brain that takes our conscious thinking and puts it into long-term and those subconscious beliefs. And the number one thing for your hippocampus to actually take that, and the amygdala, the two kind of work together to take those beliefs and put those into your subconscious brain, is emotion. So the stronger you feel about this, the more important it is, the more likelihood that it's going to sink into that deep part of your brain to help change those beliefs about yourself. So next is taking that aligned action. This is the daily activities. You are taking action that is aligned with the people, the person you need to be to have achieved that goal. And I think that is like the biggest part I'm trying to get into you guys, is that this is about becoming that person who already has that goal achieved. This is not about just tacking on extra tasks and using just your sheer force to get it done. Like, this is really shifting your brain neural programming because that is going to be how you actually achieve these goals, but you actually keep them. So you're not just losing the 5 pounds and gaining 7 back. This is how you become the person who is what you want. Yes, the mind shift is so important. And yes, 6 is kind of like where we're going to keep going through. So the aligned action. So action is needing. Learning is so important. You can listen to me and you can be like, yes, this message is so good. But if you're not taking action, you can do all of the mindset work. You can think it, but if you're not feeling it and taking action from that place, the results aren't necessarily going to come. You may be able to create some results when your thinking is aligned, but you need to be taking that aligned action. If I'm that person who already has achieved my goal, what actions do I need to be taking on a daily basis? If I'm already that person who's 5 pounds lighter, how am I showing up in the world? What clothes am I buying? What people like what am I doing? If I'm already that $100,000 earner, how am I showing up differently? What am I doing? What are my income producing activities? What am I focusing my time on? And you are taking these actions that are getting you closer because that's the person you are. When you think about that, you are already that person. You get to create that. We get to feel whatever we want. Our feelings are always dictated by our thoughts. So you're choosing your thoughts, which choose your feelings, which create the actions, and our thinking always creates our results. So ideas get overwhelming. Just let them sit on the brain. Gotta need to bring them into action. Yes. So our brains, this is totally normal. So what our brains do is that they get that confused and your brain is like, I just need a little bit more information. What the underlying thing is that fear of the unknown. So our brain is always designed to protect us. And one way that our brain actually prevents us from taking those steps into the unknown, taking that scary step to, start a business, taking that next step, whatever your goal may be. If your goal is really scary, what your brain is going to tell you is it just needs a little more time. It just needs a little bit more information. You just don't have what you need to be able to do that. The thing is that you're never going to have enough because that's just like the surface level things that your brain is telling you. The real problem is your brain is actually fearful of the unknown, fearful because it doesn't know how to protect you because never been through that situation. It's never been $100,000 earner. So it does not know how to handle that situation. It does not know the threats that are going to come, although the threats in our today's society are very minimal, but our brains were programmed when we were hunter-gatherers, fending off lions, tigers, and bears. And that's still how our brain is showing up and treating today's life. So your brain is going to give you all of these excuses and they feel so valid. I will 100% give you that because I have been trapped in them many a time where I'm like, no, but you don't understand. This is the problem. And you're like, but actually when you dive deep into it, the problem is generally that fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, and that scarcity for our safety and security is what our brain is trying to protect us from by bringing up all of these other reasons. Yeah, so we need to do the knowledge and the action to help get the goal achieved 100%. So we need to do the mindset behind it. And I always like to say it's 80% mindset and 20% structure. So you really have to have that strong mindset because I have so many examples of people who have incredible mindset and they don't have any of the structure. They don't have for business, they don't have a website, they don't have a Facebook group. They don't have all of these things that my brain told me for so long that I needed to be successful. They don't have all those things, but yet they've earned hundreds of thousands of dollars. So our brains just come up with all of these excuses, but the mindset is really what is important because if we can go unpack all of that and program your brain to create the results, the structure is vital because it makes our life so much easier and we can direct all of this energy that we have and we can create what we want with it. But mindset is definitely, I think it's an 80%, 20%. So The next thing is, once you do this work, trust your intuition. We each and every one of us have such strong intuitions, and we've been programmed to ignore it. We grew up with all of these shoulds. We grew up, we should go to, we should go to college, we should go to university, you should do this with your life. A good housekeeper does this. Like, you have all of these shoulds from everybody else that are so strong in your brain. Those aren't your beliefs. Those are everyone else's beliefs that they're telling you because they want what's best for you, but that is not aligned with you. The amazing thing is, once you start letting these go, your gut intuition is going to get so strong, and you are going to be able to make decisions like a boss. The important lesson that I have learned so strongly since becoming an entrepreneur is you need to be able to make decisions fast and change them slow. You need to know, you need to take that moment, you need to trust in your gut. Is this aligned with what I want for who I'm becoming? Yes. Then we're going with it. No, then we are letting it go. Even when it comes to deciding what takeout you want for dinner, make decisions fast. Most of us in today's society are so indecisive, and we waste so much time not deciding. And I honestly believe that indecision is a decision. It is another one of our tactics that our brains use to confuse us because they don't know what to do. So we just get confused. We go in all these circles. Make a decision, move forward, stick with it until you have evidence for something that is better for you, or evidence that it's not working, and then look at the thinking before you change the circumstances. So many of us just want to keep changing what we're doing, but we don't look and figure out what's actually causing our results, and what's actually creating our results in our life is our thinking. So you have the power to control your situations, and it's with your thoughts, not the circumstances. An additional course is not going to make you prepared to step out in business. Okay. So I'm just looking at basically we're going to take all of these goals and we are going to, somebody already said this, reverse engineer them. So what I do is, I don't know if anybody actually wants to do this with me. I was gonna say my whiteboard is like way far away here. If anybody would actually like to do this, if I have any volunteers, I will walk you through this. If not, I will just theoretically say it. But basically what I have my clients do, what I actually do in practice, is go through my goals. So I have an idea. You have the idea. What do you want to do? Brainstorm the idea. What are all of the parts? What are all the components? I take out my whiteboard. You can just take out a piece of paper and do this at home. Brainstorm all of the components, everything that you could possibly think of that needs to be incorporated in that. For my 5 pounds, what do I need to do? Okay, I would like to eat healthier. So what does eating healthier include? Maybe when I go grocery shopping, I need to buy some more vegetables. I need to not buy the junk food. I would like to do 3 exercises a week. Every single thing that is aligned with what I believe is going to need to be necessary for that goal. And this works so well. I use this principle for creating this masterclass. I'm brainstorming all of the concepts. I had so many amazing ideas for what I wanted to talk about when it comes to goals. I write them all out, brainstorm them and then I look through it and see, okay, what's really important? What do I really want to talk about? What do I really think that all these wonderful people who are watching need to hear from me? And then the next thing that I do is I look at all this and I think of, what are all the obstacles? What is going to come in my way for the 5 pounds? What is going to, 5 pound goal? What is going to come in my way? Well, my alarm clock went off and I just felt so tired and my bed was so warm and cozy and I'm not going to want to get out of bed. Or so-and-so asked me to go out for dinner with them and I know I'm going to get a cheeseburger and fries and a margarita, and that's not part of my protocol for my diet. or like any of these obstacles, what has come in your way of like making this goal in the past? What has gotten in, like, think of all of the things that could get in your way. Your kids, your, a doctor's appointment, like whatever is something that you think that could possibly get in your way of achieving your goal. Then the third thing is strategies to overcome it. It's amazing how strong obstacles feel in the moment. Your brain is designed to avoid pain and seek pleasure. When you're telling yourself that you need to get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning to go lift weights, and your brain is like, that is so difficult. My body's going to be sore. My bed is warm. I definitely want to avoid that struggle. I'm just going to stay in bed. But when you pre-program, when you pre-plan, when you overcome these obstacles in advance, they seem so much more minuscule, because your brain will be like, well, I don't want to get up. And you're going to be like, oh, I knew this was going to come. See, I told you it was going to happen. And then because your brain loves to be right. So when you can like be right against yourself, you kind of create this whole competition. It's kind of ridiculous with yourself. You'll start talking to yourself more often. Don't worry. It's totally normal. You're like, see, brain, I told you this was going to come. And then you overcome it in advance. So how do I overcome not wanting to get out of bed in the morning? I set an alarm. I've even had to like put my alarm clock, like my phone, across the room so that I have to like actually physically get out of bed to shut off the beeping noise. I set my clothes out. I have everything, my clothes, my running shoes, my pre-workout is all laid out and ready to go. I've made each of these things as seamless as possible. So when your brain comes up with that obstacle that you've already anticipated, you're like, I already know how to solve this problem. Yes, I've got it. So then you can overcome it in advance. So then when it happens, you already have overcome it. And then what is next? You take all of these brainstorm things and you put it down into tasks. So so we're going to keep with the 5-pound goal. So how long does it take me to work out in the morning? Okay, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes. I have to do a 15-minute shower. It takes me 10 minutes to get dressed. So you have to add, okay, I have to incorporate an extra 45 minutes to an hour every morning that I do my workout. So I'm going to do it 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, I'm going to take my calendar. I'm going to block off that time for an extra 45 minutes. Okay, check, done. So, okay, the next thing is I need to eat healthier to lose the weight. So I need to block off time to go to the grocery store. It takes me an hour to go to the grocery store. I've already created this list. So I've already created this list of what I'm going to buy from the grocery store, and then I'm going to block off an hour and a half to meal prep for my week so that I have all of my meals planned out. All I need to do is take out that container, take out that thing, and my healthy food is already done. So when I'm at work and I'm having a stressful day, I have a meal that's perfect, it's healthy. I don't have to think about ordering takeout or anything like that because it's already done. So this is really how I go about ordering everything to become that person. So this is, what does that person who's already accomplished that do every day? What are their income producing activities? What do they do to be that healthy person who's kept that 5 pounds off? I am the person who's the 5 pounds lighter. What do they need to do? And then you go about actually implementing this. You've already overcome the obstacles. You've now time blocked. The masterclass that we did last month in, oh my goodness, I forgot what month last month, April, was all about time blocking. So if you're in my Facebook community, you can go and catch the replay of that because that was all based on time blocking. So you can actually learn how to time block because that is such an important strategy. So because it leaves you with time to do what you love most. And the easier you make this for yourself, the easier it's going to be for your brain to adapt and take on this new set point because you are literally rewiring your brain. And yes, this takes time. Yes, this takes discipline and reinforcing these new habits into your brain. But once you get to past that It actually takes about 4 to 6 weeks of consistent behavior to learn new habits and have new neural connections. Once you get past that point, this is your new normal. Once you've reprogrammed your brain, you have this and it will continue to be in your brain. So once you do that mindset work, which is the problem for when you just take the action, when you stop taking the action, you go back to your set point, which is why it's so important to do the mindset work to become that person, as well as adding these reverse engineering these goals so that you can know exactly what to do and when, and make it as easy as possible for your brain, because our brains get confused so easily. So when you create these plans, it becomes like this rock solid thing that it is invincible. You know you're going to accomplish it with such certainty, and then you do. So that is all I have for the presentation portion. I will definitely, if you would like to connect with me, please connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. I also did not put so I have my Facebook community is From Burnout to Badass. I think most of you are in my Facebook community to have gotten through here, but I think some of you came from elsewhere. So From Burnout to Badass Female Entrepreneurship Community is on Facebook. You can also connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at Jana Holterman Coaching. And then my website is janaholterman.com. If you found that this masterclass was really valuable for you, I really would love to hear from you, as well as I will answer questions in just one moment. But I really do encourage you to send me a message and apply for the Badass Blueprint call. So that is basically when I work with my clients, they come to me for this Badass Blueprint call, and it is a complimentary call to see if coaching is right for you. So we are going to go over where you are right now, where you want to be, and then I'm going to show you the 3 main things that you can work on to accomplish that for yourself. So sometimes it is part of this goal. I do a lot of mindset work. I also do structure, and then I do a lot of resiliency reserve. So those are the 3 pillars of my one-to-one coaching program. Again, mindset work, structure, and resiliency reserve. So you're creating this well-rounded self who is that like full badass version of you. Okay, so I'm going to exit screen share here so I can see all of you lovely people, and then I'm going to stop recording.